Officer-involved shooting in southeast Kansas. And a 4-state VFW lends a helping hand and a listening ear to veterans of the Afghanistan war. Also, the number of Americans concerned about catching COVID-19 increases.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We're kicking off the work week with the 2 dreaded H's and, of course, one of our favorite H's. Heat, humidity, and Michael Hayslip. That was
not
for
bad.
You. That was for you.
That's not bad. I'll take it. It is going to be a hot one this week. Not quite record-breaking, but we'll be close here because we're going to roll mid to high 90s the rest of the week. There's a live look over 7th and Rangeline. Already a warm Monday morning start, sitting at 79 degrees. And as Tanya said, that humidity is going to play a factor all week long. Remember, that's the old reflectivity from the sweeping radar. If we remove the sweeper, we're good to go. Got to go all the way up to the Kansas-Nebraska state line to find our nearest rain. And of course, we've got the heat advisory lasting all the way until 7 on Thursday. Lasts until Thursday. Look at this. It goes from the Missouri-Iowa state line all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Wind's going to come in from the south. Wind's not going to play too much of a factor for the morning hours. It'll pick up here for the afternoon. And then as far as what we're talking about nationally speaking, jet stream's really flattened out, riding right over the Canadian border right there. Not a whole lot of movement in it as far as the trough of the ridge go, but you can definitely see your dividing line as far as where the heat picks up. The weather trend for today, around 96 degrees this afternoon. Sunny skies, going to be on the dry side for the most part. Should even be able to avoid any of the afternoon pop-up variety that we have. And then as we get ready to move into Tuesday, we're going to be off to another warm start and a scorcher of an afternoon. We're just going to ride 96s and 97s all the way until that heat advisory expires on Thursday.
All right.
Dry for the most part too. Really not even going to see many of those afternoon, evening pop-ups that we had last week.
Just be safe out there in that heat, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we need to get used to this.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, President Biden says discussions are underway among military officials about potentially extending the evacuation of Americans and Afghan allies out of Kabul beyond his August 31st deadline. President Biden says since August 14th, 28,000 people have been evacuated in the airlift, but tens of thousands remain stranded in Afghanistan. Well, following the news of the Taliban takeover, many veterans have been struggling to process how the situation played out. KOAM's Bronte Saratsky shows us how a local VFW in La Harpe, Kansas is offering support to veterans and their families.
We embrace, we talk, we hug, we cry, and it's just between us.
Following the Taliban's takeover in Afghanistan, many local veterans say they feel upset over lack of planning and evacuation that has been playing out at Kabul's international airport.
Because of the downfall, the way it happened, we're angry. And some people have to get it off their chest. And if you are a veteran and you're out in the community and you want to say something, they're a little afraid to do so. So what we did is we brought it into our organization that any veteran is more than welcome to come here and speak openly about what's going on.
The VFW says they decided to hold this meeting after noticing many were upset within their community of veterans.
We're veterans and we take care of each other no matter what. We've been seeing a lot of things on TV, and as I told Doug, our commander, I said there's been a lot of 1-800 numbers on the TV for veterans to call if they want to talk. And we have a lot of veterans in this community. I think we need something like that to discuss it. And so that's why we opened up our doors to do so.
Veterans in attendance say just talking about the situation can alleviate some stress.
Anytime you can get a veteran to open up, it helps. It really does.
And even those who just wanted to feel supported but did not want to speak up were able to do so. An officer-involved shooting last Friday takes a fatal turn over the weekend. KBI officials say 28-year-old Brenda Schlichten passed away early Sunday morning at a Kansas City hospital. The incident started Friday when Chanute police responded to reports of a suspicious person looking in car windows. When an officer arrived, he attempted to make contact with Schlichten, who who then pulled a weapon from a holster. The officer fired one shot, striking Schlichten in the head, and the investigation is still ongoing. Police in Seneca, Missouri investigate a vehicle wreck at Big Daddy's gas station. An officer on the scene says a car drove through the gas station and liquor store's front door late Sunday morning. He says a 61-year-old male driver was trying to exit the store's parking lot when something went wrong and the car crashed through the store. Driver error is suspected, but the officer says there was no indication that the driver was intoxicated. No one was injured during the crash, and as of now, the driver is not facing criminal charges. Well, the weather has been and is still good for many improvement projects that involve hiring a contractor. The Better Business Bureau says there are several contractors who may advertise on TV or the radio, are verified and have a license, but they could still end up in some way shortchanging the customer. The BBB says it's always a good idea to visit their website and check out businesses. Also, always ask for references.
If you've asked for references and they're not able to provide any, or if you find out the references are like family, that should be something that you might want to think twice about. If people are being really, really pushy and wanting for you to re-sign a contract after you've already signed one, that's a huge red flag.
You can always check out bbb.org for more information. For the second year in a row, the Neosho River Nap-In played out in Chetopa, Kansas. The event brings together nappers from across the region to showcase their wares. In this case, homemade arrowheads, knives, spears, and other things made by hand from rocks, just like in the old days. Aaron Ellison, who put it all together, says it's important to him to bring his love of napping to Southeast Kansas.
When I got introduced to napping, the first place I made my first arrowhead was right here. And then they told me about what was called a nap-in, where people around the area get together, camp together, break rock together, trade stories, arrowheads, all sorts of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I want to go to a nap-in, but they're all so far away. Okay, I'm gonna make one here.
Later in the show, we'll hear from a man from Muskogee who's been recognized as a Cherokee Nation national treasure and spends his free time making arrowheads. It's 5:07.
Great crowd out there by the Neosho River in Chetopa over the weekend. Special thanks to everybody who put that on, because it certainly was a great time. Highs today up into the high 90s. We've got heat advisories lasting all week long, and overnight still very warm. South breeze 10 to 15 miles per hour. The advisory lasting all the way until Thursday. That's why those alert days pop up on the 7-day forecast there at the bottom. Overnight lows very, very warm each and every night in the 70s.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Baxter Springs Lions prepare for the fall season, aiming to claim their first win since 2018. That story next. Plus, anxiety over the coronavirus hits new highs since last winter. And Pfizer's 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine could get full FDA approval within days. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
With them.
Baxter Springs Lions getting ready to start their second week of fall practice after back-to-back winless years. But now new head coach Russell Burr and his team hopeful to begin the program turnaround. Oh my goodness. Well, choked up right there. It's high school football season, what can I say? Lions face some challenges again this year. Got just one senior on the roster, battling low numbers. However, off-season preparations have shown promise. Lions now determined to rewrite this story.
I think our skill people are pretty good, and we don't have a lot of numbers, but our kids are working pretty hard. And we got some athletes. It's just a matter of can we go the full game, because we just don't have a lot of guys. The first win for us will be huge. We are on a streak right now. We haven't won in a couple of years, actually. So our first win will be a time of celebration.
St. Mary's Colgan also kicking off week 2 of practice. Panthers return a small senior class, but it's one highly motivated group. KOAM Sports Director Jacob Leonard with more on how those seniors aim to lead their team on another postseason run.
The seniors on this Colgan roster have been waiting for this season for a long time.
A lot of them had older siblings, older brothers that played here and went to school here, and so they've been around and they know what it takes, and they know what their siblings and parents have put into making this place what it is, and so they're excited for their opportunity, knowing that they're up next.
There's even more motivation for a few of them who have missed time to injury in high school, including Jalen Van Beesler, who played in just 4 games after an early season injury in 2020.
I really felt like when he came back, he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and we've certainly seen that this summer and so far. He's gotten a lot stronger in the weight room, really moving well, looks good.
I'm just thankful that I can play right now. I missed a lot last year, and I'm just really ready to go. I'm really motivated to go out and get wins through the team.
Aiden Fleming's another senior that had an unfortunate injury as a sophomore and missed some time, and had a great year last year, and we're confident primed for another big year this year. And then Will Glover, missed a game or two here last year and some time as a sophomore, and I think they've learned how important each day is, and they're hungry to make the most of their senior years.
Colgan opens with 3 tough games against Girard, Galena, and Frontenac. They're hoping those early season games will have them ready for district play and another run in the postseason.
It's a competitive district, and it's a challenging district, but one that we feel good about, like we can go in and compete with every team every given week.
I just think a lot of people outside of us don't think we'll be very good, and we don't get very good ratings the past couple of years, but I think we'll push past that and do better than people think.
In Pittsburgh, Jacob Leonard, KOAM Sports.
Colgan opens up its season, as usual, gets to take on the Girard Trojans on September the 3rd. Missouri High School is kicking off football season this coming Friday, but for some 4-state, this season started over the weekend. How about the Cornerstone Spartans? They're an 8-man football team made up mostly of homeschooled athletes from Southwest Missouri. Other public and private school kids who did not play for their school teams round out the roster. It's a program that started in 2008 and provides athletes with the opportunity to continue to play the sport. After a winless season in 2020, Spartans made a statement on Saturday. How about a 46-0 victory in the home opener?
Feels great to get, our first win in over 650 days. It's good to get a win. That way these boys know what it feels like to win. That way they can keep pursuing this, winning mentality.
I've been waiting 9 months for this game because we didn't win a single game last year, and I wanted to come out and get some redemption.
Congratulations to Cornerstone right there. That's tremendous. Kansas City Chiefs traveled to Arizona to face the Cardinals in the second week of preseason action. Chiefs defeated the Cardinals 17-10, making them 2-0 so far in preseason play. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes played about 2 quarters, went 10 of 18 for 78 yards. Then backup Chad Henne, he stepped in, finds Mecole Hardman for a 17-yard touchdown, and then Shane Buechele found Jerick McKinnon in the end zone for the second Chiefs touchdown. Here's Mahomes on the second preseason win.
I think the most valuable thing we did was kind of have those long, sustained drives. I mean, it's awesome to score with one play, and I'm sure we'll have a couple of those during the season. But to have those drives where you have to kind of grind it out, I think that's the biggest thing that you get away from this game. Definitely a good showing for the offensive line, I thought. They protected well. We ran the ball well, and you can always learn from the things that we did.
Chiefs' final preseason contest, that's going to be at home against the Vikings, coming up on Friday. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a big change on the way for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine.
Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine nears FDA approval as the Delta variant continues to spread. I'm Christina Coleman in Los Angeles. Details coming up.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Within the
little past 5:17. Good time for weather on the 7s. Now, we're not going to find anything record-setting this week. A record for this August the 23rd dates back to 1947. You have to make it up to 102 degrees. We're not going to quite end up there, but I tell you what, we got a hot one in store. There's a live look outside the mothership where I don't have a lot of action as of yet, and that's because sunrise is not going to be here until, let's roll 6:41 on this Monday morning. There we are over 7th and Rangeline, and it's already a warm one. 79 degrees is where we stand right now. Remember, the blue is from the reflectivity. We really don't have any worries, hardly any cloud cover even to speak of throughout the entire Midwest. Good high pressure system hanging over us. And of course, we do have the heat advisory lasting all the way into Thursday. Rather expansive in the fact that it runs all the way to the Gulf Coast. Temperatures right now ranging anywhere from mid to high 70s. Let's roll 79 in Carthage, 77 in Parsons, 74 in Miami. The race to 80 already on, and we've still got an hour 20 before the sun even emerges. Definitive line as far as where the heat is. You get the northwest section of that. Nice cool August temperatures up in Big Sky country. It's just everything below it down to the southeast is going to be oppressively hot. And then over here on the northeast, yeah, we've got what's left of Tropical Storm Henri. Now, it stays out of the severe thunderstorm risk map, but the low pressure system and the remnants of it still causing massive rain across the northeastern portion of the United States. Oh, also of note, I wanted to point out that down to the southwest, down to the Pacific, they're already on the letter M in the Pacifics as they have Tropical Storm Marty. Just wanted to give an idea there how far apart they are on the alphabet from each other. The Atlantic's been rather slow so far this year. Heat advisories all throughout the week, feeling about like 103 for this afternoon, and then overnight, our overnight low is going to be very, very warm, just mid-70s for next 5-6 days. And we're going to be dry as well. Even the afternoon and evening pop-ups that we were getting last week, that's kind of going to be a thing of the past for this week. It's just a matter of staying safe when you're outside. Remember, frequent breaks, light clothing. Do not leave the kids or pets in the car. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. As the coronavirus hits new highs, the latest Associated Press and National Opinion Research Center, well, they say 41% of Americans are, quote, extremely or very worried about themselves or their family becoming infected with coronavirus. That's up 21 percentage points since June, and very close to last January when 43% were extremely or very worried. Now, despite the rising cases and concerns, these polls suggest Americans have not stepped up precautionary measures. Our question to you this morning is, how anxious are you about yourself or your family becoming infected with coronavirus? You can log on to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect with us via Facebook. We'll be back with Healthwatch next.
80 seconds.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, Pfizer's 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine could get full FDA approval within days. Health officials hope the clearance could convince skeptics to get vaccinated. Christina Coleman has the latest.
The New York Times reports the FDA aims to give Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine full approval as soon as next week. For the last 8 months, the formula has been in use under an emergency authorization. Health experts say the move could help convince unvaccinated Americans that the shot is safe and may lead to a wave of new vaccine mandates.
The full approval, called biological licensing application, now allows them the ability to require vaccination and not be as concerned about lawsuits and other challenges that might arise.
Vaccine hesitancy has been an obstacle in getting eligible adults vaccinated against COVID-19, but more people are making the decision to get their shots. The White House announcing Friday 200 million Americans have received at least one dose. Health officials say there's a renewed urgency to get people vaccinated as the Delta variant spreads.
It's spreading like wildfire, and it's putting our children in the hospital in record numbers.
Over the past week, the U.S. averaged 11,000 new hospital admissions. The CDC says at the current pace, we could reach a record high within a month. Florida now accounts for about 1 in 5 COVID patients hospitalized nationwide. And doctors in Jacksonville say more children are also being treated due to the virus.
We're seeing the ages decrease from what we saw in the previous variants. The young are sicker, and they're sicker quicker.
This week, the U.S. reported more than 1 million new COVID cases for the first time since February. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Well, Freeman Hospital says it is ready to administer COVID-19 vaccine booster shots to those who qualify. The hospital will administer single-dose booster shots of the Pfizer vaccine at its drive-through clinics to those who schedule appointments. Freeman's infection prevention and control manager says right now the shots are available only for the immunocompromised and others with specific medical conditions. But according to the CDC, starting September 20th, members of the general public who received a Moderna or Pfizer coronavirus vaccine can receive a corresponding booster shot, as long as it happens at least 8 months from their second dose. Freeman has the Pfizer vaccines, but pharmacies like Stone's Corner in Webb City have both.
We've been able to start those booster doses, and they just need to be 28 days past their second dose for those that are eligible, and we'd be happy to help.
Freeman Hospital says the booster shots will be offered free of charge. Well, there's growing concerns in Kansas as COVID-19 cases continue to rise and patients continue to strain hospital resources. Governor Laura Kelly revealed on Friday that COVID-19 infections are now spreading faster than the rate it was spreading before a vaccine was available. This has led to a spike in hospitalizations, which could be curbed if more people were vaccinated. The governor is urging Kansans not to wait to get their shot and to mask up in order to avoid the virus's spread.
Over the past several weeks, COVID-19 cases and related hospitalizations of Kansans of all ages have risen exponentially. It shouldn't be like this, but COVID-19 infections are more rampant today than they were before the vaccine was available. Not surprisingly, nearly all the people admitted to our ICUs with COVID-related issues are unvaccinated. Our healthcare system is being stretched to the max. Our counties are running low on resources to fight the virus.
According to Kansas health officials, Sunflower State hospitals have just 29% of ICU beds available for use. This has led to doctors postponing surgeries and sending patients further and further away for treatments when sick. Well, if you're a couch potato and don't exercise, you have a much higher risk of stroke. Researchers with the American Heart Association say adults under 60 who spend too much time in front of the TV are 7 times more likely to suffer a stroke than most physically active people. Researchers reviewed health and lifestyle info from 143,000 people with no previous stroke history or other key diseases. Deaths from strokes were on the rise in people between 35 and 64. 9 in 10 strokes could be attributed to changeable factors such as sitting too much. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
In the mid to high 70s. It is a race to 80 is what we're doing this morning. Carthage is at 79, Neodesha right there at 78, and then we got a slew of 77s right behind it. And of course, that leads us to our heat advisories for the duration of the week, each and every day. We're going to be sitting about like 96, 97, feeling about like 103 to 104. Remember, a lot of water, a lot of sunscreen. Take frequent breaks. Back right after this.
Number of drownings in Missouri rises early in 2021. What you can do to keep your family safe. And a 4-state VFW lends a helping hand and a listening ear to veterans of the Afghanistan war. Also, the number of Americans concerned about catching COVID-19 increases.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We kick off the work week with plenty of heat. Let's take a look at the forecast. Michael Hayslip.
August 10th and 11th, we had back-to-back 97-degree days. All right, just 2 of them. We're going to roll about 4 consecutive days here. We haven't seen a wave like this since our end of July heat wave.
Ouch.
So that's what we're preparing for. Here's a look at our temperatures in the past 10 days, and we're going to make that 94 look like the bottom of the roller coaster here by the time we get to Thursday, because 96 and 97 are going to be the theme all the way into the weekend. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline, already very, very warm for being this early in the morning, especially sunrise. Not for another hour, 10 minutes, sitting at 79 degrees. Remember, the blue is the reflectivity. We're good to go throughout really the entire Midwest. Nothing popping up. We do have heat advisories lasting all the way until Thursday. That's right, Thursday. As right now, I've been calling it the race to 80 on this Monday morning. We now have Carthage and Joplin at 79. Throw Chanute in at 79 as well. Let's roll 76 in Nevada and 74 in both Miami and in Grove. As far as our planner goes for today, going to feel about like 103. So make sure, once again, do not leave the kids nor the pets in the car. Remember, a whole lot of frequent breaks if you're going to be outside. Drink plenty of water. And we need to get used to that because it's going to stay with us. Overnight lows, very, very warm. South breeze, 10 to 15 miles per hour. We do not get the pop-ups that we've been getting for the afternoon and evening all through last week. We're going to be dry, hot and dry. And as Tanya likes to remind us, humid as well. I guess you can say we get a break on Friday. I guess. Doesn't have alert day down.
Oh, it's like you ran out of red ink or something. It's definitely not a race that we would want to win, the race to 80.
Unfortunately, the Skywatch Weather Department does not have fabulous prizes to distribute for our communities that get to 81st.
Maybe a water bottle. That'd be great.
I got a joke about water bottles as a prize.
All right, thanks, Michael. A Delaware County woman gets a 20-year sentence for recording the drug overdose death of another woman. Allie Anderson, charged with first-degree murder in the victim's death, will serve less than 3 years of her 20-year sentence. The judge suspended 17 years of her sentence and then gave her credit for time served. Anderson and her husband, Brian Anderson, were arrested in 2019 for Melissa Vermillion's death. Police say they injected Vermillion with methamphetamine, recorded her while she overdosed, and ignored her calls for help as she was dying. Brian Anderson died in jail last year. One man is dead following a two-vehicle crash in Bourbon County over the weekend. According to the Kansas Highway Patrol, 48-year-old Ira Toshevic was riding his motorcycle on Highway 69 near National Avenue in Fort Scott when he was unable to negotiate a right-hand curve and went left of the center, hitting another vehicle head-on. Toshevic was taken to Ascension Via Christi in Fort Scott, where he later died. The driver of the other vehicle refused treatment at the scene. Almost as many people have drowned in Missouri so far this year than in all of 2020. 5 drownings in just 1 week in August. With Labor Day weekend quickly approaching, now is the time to make sure you're being safe out on the lake. Jacob Blount spoke with Water Patrol officials about the staggering rise in drownings.
In an accident with your boat and you get thrown out of your boat, and if you're injured or maybe unconscious, again, there is just no second chances.
Chris Barrett, chief of Western Taney County Fire Protection District, says his team assists with local water patrol.
We have experienced a big variety of drownings this year. I mean, from people just driving their car into the lake because they missed a turnoff and in the middle of the night just drive into the lake, to people like what we had the other day.
From August 6th to August 12th, 5 people died in the state from drowning, including one here at Table Rock Lake when a father drowned attempting to save his child in the water. Local Water Patrol Troop D says 7 people died from drownings in 2020 in southwest Missouri. And so far this year, the number has already reached 16.
And by the time they call and we get dispatched and respond, there is quite a time delay. And so unfortunately, normally there's no good ending to that.
We want our children to be safe.
Tina Tong and her family are trying something new on their vacation in Branson today at Table Rock Lake.
Actually, this is our first time ever swim in a lake.
Tong says her kids know how to swim, but she's watching to make sure they are safe and that they have their life jackets.
Whether it's a bathtub or it's a inside swimming pool or anything, we never leave our children alone.
The number one thing people can do is just wear a life jacket. And I know you get your suntan, you want to play, you don't want a life jacket, but it is really the only piece of equipment you have for defense.
Last year there were 51 total drownings in the state of Missouri, and right now, 2021 already had 43. 2 Joplin businesses team up to get kids ready to head back to the classroom. Salon 529 in Joplin and Pink Homes Real Estate worked together on Sunday to give back to the Joplin community with their annual Give Back event. Kids were able to receive free haircuts as well as backpacks filled with back-to-school supplies.
School can get expensive with clothes and supplies and haircuts, so we wanted to offer this free service to anyone who was willing to show up and take advantage of our offering for them. And we are super excited to be able to have our stylists volunteer their time to come in and offer these free haircuts.
Many area schools start today, so the Salon and Pink Homes say they thought this would be the perfect time for kids to get their supplies and look fresh for the school year. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Commercial airlines join the effort to evacuate Americans and allies from Afghanistan. Plus, we check out a four-state racing sport that sets up a new challenge for each competition. But first, it's 5:37.
Got a whole bunch of high 70s already out there. The kids gonna be happy probably. Well, no, they're not. Let's face it. They're not gonna be happy. They're inside in air conditioning because they're gonna be in a classroom. But for the most part, it'll be safe. Other than being outside for prolonged periods of time today or all week long, because look at that heat advisory. That is not a misprint. That runs all the way until Thursday. Now, we're just going to open the week and just go ahead and just go, blanket the heat advisories all the way to the end of the week, if you will. Highs today around 96, 97 degrees, and this will be a wave unlike what we have seen since the end of July when we had that streak. Even on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when we lose our alert days on our 7-day forecast panels, know that those are still going to be abnormally warm for this time of year anyway, as we'll just be in the low to mid 90s. Be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, President Biden addresses the nation and attempts to mitigate the fallout from his decision to pull U.S. forces from Afghanistan. He insists mass evacuations from Kabul were inevitably going to present a challenge. A new CBS News poll finds most Americans approve of removing U.S. troops, but most also believe the handling of the withdrawal has gone either very or somewhat badly. President Biden's approval rating has also fallen from 62% in March to 50% right now. CBS's Ian Lee has the latest.
The president said history will prove him right.
When this is over, the American people have a clear understanding of what I did, why we did it.
But at the moment, the pictures outside of Kabul show an increasingly dire and desperate situation. For Americans trying to evacuate, the struggle is getting to the Kabul airport. On Sunday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said getting Americans out is the #1 priority.
We're in direct contact with American citizens and others, and we're able to guide them the best way to get to the airport, what to do when they get there.
The pace of evacuations from Afghanistan is picking up. The Pentagon says U.S. military and coalition flights airlifted out just over 25,000 people in the last several days. The administration has now enlisted commercial airlines to help. At least 18 planes will carry Americans and Afghan allies already evacuated from Kabul.
We're going to continue to assess the situation and again, work as hard as we can to get as many people out.
That's not good enough for some critics.
They're not negotiating with the Taliban. They've completely surrendered to the Taliban.
They are in control of Kabul. That is the reality. That's the reality that we have to deal with.
G7 leaders have called for a virtual meeting Tuesday to discuss what they believe is fast becoming an international humanitarian crisis. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Early this morning, the German military says an Afghan security officer was killed after a firefight broke out at the Kabul airport between Afghan security forces and unknown attackers. This a day after the British military reported at least 7 Afghans died as a mob of panicked people tried to enter the airport amid thousands still attempting to flee the country. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, anxiety over the coronavirus hits new highs dating back to last winter. The latest Associated Press and National Opinion Research Center poll say 41% of Americans are extremely or very worried about themselves or their family becoming infected with the coronavirus. That is up some 21 percentage points since June and very close to last January when 43% were extremely or very worried. Despite rising cases and concerns, polls suggest Americans have not stepped up precautionary measures. That brings us to this morning's Something to Talk About, asking how anxious are you about yourself or your family becoming infected with the coronavirus? Right now, 59% of you say yes, you would consider yourself extremely or very worried about it. 30% say somewhat worried, and only 11% say not worried at all. There are two ways to connect. You can either go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or if you happen to be on our Facebook page, you connect via the KOAM News Now Facebook page as well. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. President Biden says discussions are underway among military officials about potentially extending the evacuation of Americans and Afghan allies out of Kabul beyond his August 31st deadline. The president says since August 14th, 28,000 people have been evacuated in the airlift, but tens of thousands remain stranded in Afghanistan. Following the news of the Taliban's takeover in Afghanistan, many veterans are struggling to process how the situation played out. So the Veterans of Foreign Wars in La Harpe, Kansas hosted an informal session for those who fought in Afghanistan. The session gave veterans an opportunity to share their thoughts and grievances in a supportive and confidential space. An officer-involved shooting last Friday takes a fatal turn over the weekend. KBI officials say 28-year-old Brenda Schlichten passed away early Sunday morning at a Kansas City hospital. They say the incident started Friday when Chanute police responded to reports of a suspicious person looking in car windows. When an officer arrived, he attempted to make contact with Schlichten, who then pulled a weapon from his holster. The officer fired one shot, striking Schlichten in the head. For the second year in a row, the Neosho River Nap-In plays out in Chautauqua, Kansas. The event brings together nappers from across the region to showcase their wares. In this case, homemade arrowheads, knives, spears, and other things made by hand from rocks, just like in the old days. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We were to cruise through the past 10 days here in our daily highs. Yesterday, up to 94 degrees. Well, today will even be hotter than that. We're about to begin a string of temperatures that we haven't seen the likes of since our end of July heat wave. A live look over 7th and Rangeline, where we already sit at 79 degrees. Look at that, temperature matches the humidity. Just coincidental, nothing more than that. Skywatch storm tracker with no worries. This will be our main concern. The heat advisory lasting all the way until Thursday, and it's stretching from the Missouri-Iowa state line all the way down to the Gulf through New Orleans, as we are sitting very, very close to 80 degrees, and we still have, say about 50 minutes until sunrise. Skywatch storm tracker, nationally speaking, not a whole lot of action, although, of course, we still do have some flooding up in the northeastern section from what is the remnants of Henri, as it continues to come down. But really, when we talk about watches and warnings that we're looking at, it really is the heat running right through the central portion of the U.S. It'll feel about like 103 later on this afternoon. Overnight, only dropping down to the mid-70s here all throughout the 7-day forecast, and pretty much done with those little pop-ups that we had during the afternoon and evening hours. It's going to be hot, going to be dry, going to take us all the way through Thursday. We'll be back right after this.
Well, autocross is a type of racing not everyone is familiar with. KOAM's Bronte Saratsky rode along with some autocross racers to see what this sport is all about and how it differs from traditional race car driving.
Autocrossing isn't your typical style of racing.
We set up courses in large airfields or parking lots with cones. We run 1 or 2 cars at a time. The cars don't get close to each other, so there's no risk of them hitting each other. And it's a timed event, and so it's a competition to see who can make it through the course the quickest.
Each race only takes about 45 seconds to complete, with speeds reaching up to 75 miles per hour.
It's a competitive event, and we all want to be the fastest.
These people race not just to improve their skills, but also because they love the thrill that the competition brings.
You keep your skills fresh when there's a new challenge, a new course every time. And it's great if you're experienced. It's great if you're a novice too. Get the car control skills down.
Jim Rowland has been autocrossing for about 20 years. and says it's as much fun now as when he first started.
There's a new track every time, so there's a new challenge every time you go to an event. That's part of the fun.
And these thrill seekers aren't afraid of a little speed.
It's more thrilling than scary. I find it's a blast just because you have to do a lot of maneuvers in quick succession, so it feels very intense.
Autocrossing is educational for racers as well, and event organizers say those who get really involved with the sport can have bigger opportunities come their way.
Really a great way, to drive your car as fast as you can in a controlled and safe environment. And, if you really enjoy it, then it could lead to other things like road racing on bigger tracks.
In Neosho, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Well, Sunday's racers ranged from newcomers to seasoned competitors. Your forecast when we return.
Rolling everything from about 74 to 79 on a Monday morning. It's already warm out there with a little southerly breeze. We're just 5 to 10 miles per hour right now. Later on today, we will jump up to about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Could see about a 20-mile-an-hour gust every now and then, but it'll really be the humidity and the sunshine that's going to beat down on us, and that's why we've got these heat advisories pretty much all week long, even when they expire on Friday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, still going to be hot ones. Weather trend for today will go high 90s, about 96, 97 is where we'll finish off, and we will continue that trend with overnight lows that only drop down into the mid 70s. Look at that. Like I said, even when the alert days are over, it's still pretty toasty on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be back right after this.
Need help? Coming up, the latest details following an officer-involved shooting in southeast Kansas. And a 4-state VFW lends a helping hand and a listening ear to veterans of the Afghanistan war. Also, the number of Americans concerned about catching COVID-19 increases.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. It looks like we're going to finish off August with some very hot days. Let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast.
Tell you what, we got some gorgeous shots to begin with. That's a live look over 7th and Rangeline, where we still have a good 41 minutes till we officially hit sunrise. Current conditions right now sit at a very warm 79 degrees with the entire Midwest just pretty quiet. Got a little activity up there by the Kansas-Nebraska state line. That's as close as it gets to us, though. Now we've got those heat advisories. Tanya telling us it's going to be a scorcher of a finish to August. And at least the next 7 days here as we finish off, they're going to be abnormally warm for this time of year as our temperatures we're trying to see who the race to 80 is. Tanya emphasizing that just because you get to 81st does not mean we have fabulous prizes for you, and I apologize for that. Skywatch Storm Tracker, you can tell exactly where the definitive color contour line is for the thunderstorm activity. For the heat, the thunderstorm activity will stay in the upper plains, not going to affect us hardly at all. Later on today, we're going to roll about 96, 97 degrees and get used to that, as that will be our theme all throughout the course of the week, feeling about like 103 to 104 every time we see that alert day there at the bottom. Whoo!
Take care of your neighbors, take care of your pets.
Can you believe we're closing out August?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
On a hot note, it's the dog days of summer.
Dog days of summer, and I think just about after today, it's everybody back up and at 'em and back to school.
Yeah. It's time. It's time.
I think moms and dads are, I don't know, the kids aren't ready. I know that. I think mom and dad's ready to get back on that schedule.
Some of mine have been back for a week and a half.
Well, I just meant the majority.
True.
Yeah.
True. All right, thanks, Michael. President Biden says discussions are underway among military officials about potentially extending the evacuation of Americans and Afghan allies out of Kabul beyond his August 31st deadline. The president says since August 14th, 28,000 people have been evacuated in the airlift, but tens of thousands remain stranded in Afghanistan. Following the news of the Taliban takeover, many veterans are struggling to process how the situation played out. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky shows us how a local VFW in La Harpe, Kansas, is offering support to veterans and their families.
We embrace, we talk, we hug, we cry. and it's just between us.
Following the Taliban's takeover in Afghanistan, many local veterans say they feel upset over lack of planning and evacuation that has been playing out at Kabul's international airport.
Because of the downfall, the way it happened, we're angry. And some people have to get it off their chest. And if you are a veteran and you're out in the community and you want to say something, they're a little afraid to do so. So what we did is we brought it into our organization that any veteran is more than welcome to come here and speak openly about what's going on.
The VFW says they decided to hold this meeting after noticing many were upset within their community of veterans.
We're veterans and we take care of each other no matter what. We've been seeing a lot of things on TV, and as I told Doug, our commander, I said there's been a lot of 1-800 numbers on the TV for veterans to call if they want to talk. And we have a lot of veterans in this community. I think we need something like that to discuss it. And so that's why we opened up our doors to do so.
Veterans in attendance say just talking about the situation can alleviate some stress.
Anytime you can get a veteran to open up, it helps. It really does.
Again, that was Bronte Sorotsky reporting. Even though those who just wanted to feel supported but didn't want to speak up were able to do so. An officer-involved shooting last Friday takes a fatal turn over the weekend. KBI officials say 28-year-old Brenda Schlichten passed away early Sunday morning at a Kansas City hospital. The incident started Friday when Chanute police responded to reports of a suspicious person looking in car windows. When an officer arrived, he attempted to make contact with Schlichten, who then pulled a weapon from a holster. The officer fired one shot, striking Schlichten in the head, and the investigation is still ongoing. Police in Seneca, Missouri investigate a vehicle wreck at Big Daddy's gas station. An officer on the scene says a car drove through the gas station and liquor store's front door late Sunday morning. He says a 61-year-old male driver was trying to exit the store's parking lot when something went wrong and the car crashed through the store. Driver error is suspected, but the officer says there was no indication that the driver was intoxicated. No one was injured during the crash, and as of now, the driver is not facing criminal charges. Weather has been and is still good for many improvement projects that involve hiring a contractor. The Better Business Bureau says there are several contractors who may advertise on TV or the radio, are verified and have a license, but they could still end up in some way shortchanging the customer. The BBB says it's always a good idea to visit their website and check out businesses. Also, always ask for references.
If you've asked for references and they're not able to provide any, or if you find out the references are like family, that should be something that you might want to think twice about. If people are being really, really pushy and wanting for you to re-sign a contract after you've already signed one, that's a huge red flag.
You can always check out bbb.org for more information. For the second year in a row, the Neosho River Nap-In played out in Chetopa, Kansas. The event brings together nappers from across the region to showcase their wares. In this case, homemade arrowheads, knives, spears, and other things made by hand from rocks, just like in the old days. Aaron Ellison, who put it all together, says it's important to him to bring his love of napping to Southeast Kansas.
When I got introduced to napping, the first place I made my first arrowhead was right here. And then they told me about what was called a nap-in, where people around the area get together, camp together, break rock together, trade stories, arrowheads, all sorts of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I want to go to a nap-in, but they're all so far away. Okay, I'm gonna make one here.
Coming up in our next half hour, we'll hear from a man from Muskogee who's been recognized as a Cherokee Nation National Treasure and spends his free time making arrowheads. 6:07.
The old bridge by the Chetopa Dam was packed yesterday at the Nap-In. Wonderful job. Great festivities. That's a live look outside of Television City. It is a gorgeous one. It is a warm one. Already 79 in Joplin, Chanute, and in Carthage. Heat advisories stretching all week long, as it's going to feel about like 103 this afternoon. Actual temperature We'll top out around 96, 97 degrees, and we'll continue to roll that all the way. Every one of those alert days signifies the heat advisory's overnight lows. Yeah, we only drop down into the mid-70s.
Minutes coming up on the KOAM Morning News, how ghost kitchens are helping to offset rising food prices. Plus, it's birthday time at the National Smithsonian Zoo. We're going to show you who's celebrating their big day. And how a 2-year-old golden retriever in Kansas will soon be using her nose in the fight against COVID-19. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
A giant panda at Smithsonian's National Zoo enjoying one heck of a big birthday weekend, and that includes lots of cake as well. I did not know pandas could eat cake. Marcella Robinson with the story.
From a tiny cub to a much bigger, still very adorable panda.
He's about 58 pounds as of today, which is great. Physical milestones are certainly something that we look for, and he's hitting all of those just fine.
Xiao Shiji celebrated his first birthday Saturday. He cautiously followed his mama, Mei Zhang, outside. That's where a cake and other treats were waiting for him. But the tiered cake with a #1 topper, it's not the kind of cake you and I would eat.
So yeah, these are healthy cakes, and that's something that we make sure happens here. Diets are very important. The things that we feed the animals are very important. So what we have here are largely ice cakes, and they're colored with different fruit juices, and there's some produce in there, which is something that they normally get.
This last year, the world has been able to watch the baby panda grow. From his very first steps, first sweet potato, his first toys, and even getting on mom's nerves like a true toddler.
He is truly the miracle cub that we talk about.
Because his mother, at 22, was the oldest giant panda to give birth in the country. He's also the DC Zoo's first giant panda cub in 5 years. Zookeepers say he came at just the right time during a year where people needed something to smile about.
You come down here and just watch him, you can't help but, at least for a few minutes, forget about some of the craziness and just watch some of the antics that he does. His eating, his sleeping, his playing, all of that stuff, I think helps everybody cheer themselves up for a little bit.
I try not to do the "oh, that's so cute" thing on air, but I tell you what, that doesn't put a smile on your face on a Monday morning, folks. I can't help you. Xiao Jieji was born during the pandemic, so really not many people have had the chance to see him in person. Instead, National Zoo keeping everyone up to date on that latest activities as far as social media, and that camera's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you, there's a part of me that feels kind of intrusive, with mama and baby, watching them sleep and whatnot. But it is cute as can be, I'm gonna tell you that much. All right, as far as our daily almanac goes on this August the 23rd, while we've been talking about this abnormally warm heat wave that we're going to have, because our average high this time of year should just sit at 89 and we're going to be rolling about 8-9 degrees higher, we will stay out of record threats. Got to get up to 102, dates back to 1947. Beautiful start right there. That's outside of Television City. Trees kind of backlit and over 7th and Rangeline. We're getting all kinds of different colors up in the August sky. 79 degrees is where we stand. We've had a whole bunch of high 70s already. Skywatch Storm Tracker, sweeping radar being a little finicky. If we were to move that, everything looks clear. We're seeing a little dropout right here throughout northern Kansas. Not going to affect us though. What is going to affect us is the heat, as those advisories last all the way until Thursday. That's right, we got a 4-day span. We've had 79s at Joplin and Chanute. Carthage was recently at 79, now at 78. Miami and Grove, a little bit more mild at 72, but it's warm no matter where you go. As the color contour shows you the definitive line right there. Up to the upper plains is where the heat wave sits. And speaking of the upper plains, that is also where the severe thunderstorm risk sits for today. Henri, while it's breaking up quickly, it's still dropping a fair amount of rain over the northeastern portion of the United States. And so they've got flood warnings out there on the right-hand side of your screen, and the heat advisories that we have last all the way from the Iowa-Missouri state line to the Gulf Coast. Now, speaking of tropics, just wanted to point out the differential in the alphabet. Atlantic still on the letter H. Pacific already on Marty. It's already on the letter M. All right, so here we go for today. Highs in the high 90s. No pop-ups. We're going to be hot and dry. really for the duration of our week, as we'll run 96s and 97s until that advisory expires Thursday. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, doctors working at hospitals near the U.S.-Mexico border say they've seen an influx of migrants turned patients in their facilities. Mark Siegel has the story.
What is overwhelming us is seeing that almost everybody coming into the hospital is unvaccinated.
There is a humanitarian crisis at our southern border. Dr. Ivan Lopez, medical director at McAllen Hospital, sees the problem through the lens of medicine rather than politics. Facilities and staff are overwhelmed, and as more unvaccinated COVID patients pour into our country, Dr. Lopez and others work longer and longer hours and put their lives on the line. The problem with COVID among migrants is so pervasive that sometimes Dr. Lopez finds that the caretaker becomes the next patient.
He was with severe COVID, and the wife was calling me. I was calling her to update about her husband. And one day when I saw my patients, I recognized her name in my list.
Most of the staff have been vaccinated, and they support each other when they are, as Dr. Lopez puts it, quote, breaking down. But the influx of patients keeps increasing.
They're coming in because they want a better opportunity, and they'd end up in the hospital. And I talk to them about their personal experience and try to cheer them up, right? Because they are coming in with an idea, a dream in here, and they end up sick or very sick.
It isn't only injury. People, including children, are dying of dehydration, of malnutrition, of COVID. And there the American dream ends abruptly, alone, without family, unidentified, in a pauper's grave. The Biden administration has just sent 8.5 million vaccine doses to Mexico, 1.5 million to Honduras, and 1.5 million to El Salvador. Critics say if they want to really do something compassionate to take the burden off hospitals like Dr. Lopez's, they need to send much more aid while closing the border at the same time. In New York, Dr. Mark Siegel, Fox News.
A surge in COVID cases hits Vietnam. The nation, which weathered much of the pandemic with very few cases, is now asking people to stay in their homes for 2 weeks, starting this Monday, today, as cases continue to rise. Government officials reported more than 10,000 new cases and 390 deaths on Friday. Ho Chi Minh City accounted for 3,500 of those new infections. The city has had strict coronavirus measures in place since June. Well, a 2-year-old golden retriever in Kansas will soon be using her nose in the fight against COVID-19. This is Ivory, and on top of being a very good girl, she's also a COVID-19 sniffing dog. Ivory is going out to a network of assisted living centers to sniff out COVID-19 among residents in hopes of preventing the spread of the virus. Now, Ivory is currently a comfort dog at Benton House Assisted Living in Olathe and was trained in Atlanta to sniff out COVID-19.
COVID has its own chemical scent, as does, you may have heard of dogs that can smell cancer. And something else that that Ivory could do in the future would be for those who have diabetes.
Use her 300 million scent receptors to smell a swab that's been applied to a test subject's hand to determine if they are infected with the coronavirus. But for now, she will continue her role as a comfort dog for residents at the facility in Olathe. It's pretty cool. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
That dogs are able to do that. It just boggles my mind. 79 in Joplin. Let's scroll a whole bunch of 77s throughout southeast Kansas, and Carthage has been consistently right there at 78, 79 as well. Top it out around 96, 97 this afternoon, and feeling about like 103. That is why we have the alert days for the heat advisories that last all the way to Thursday. More KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, we meet an Oklahoma man who has made napping his lifelong hobby. And a 4-state VFW lends a helping hand and a listening ear to the veterans of the Afghanistan war. Also, the number of Americans concerned about catching COVID-19 increases.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We're kicking off the work week with the two dreaded H's and one of our favorite H's. We've got the heat, the humidity, and Michael Hayslip.
You are too kind, man. Too kind. Thank you for that. Live look outside of Television City where we have gorgeous blue skies. I tell you what, if it weren't for the temperatures, we just sit back and enjoy a marvelous Monday morning. I know the kids are hating me right now going, no, Michael, we gotta go back to school. We don't want to do that. But I tell you what, kiddos, at least you'll be in air conditioning because it's going to be a scorcher out there today. Coming off of temperatures that have been in the high 80s, low 90s for really the past 10 days, we're going to blow those numbers out of the water here by the time we get to the end of the work week. There's 7th and Range Line where it's already sitting at 79 degrees, and technically we got 10 minutes until it's official sunrise over Joplin. The Skywatch Storm Tracker has remained clear if we take off the sweeping radar. Got to go all the way up into north central Kansas to find any precipitation, and it will not be able to fall down as far south as us. Heat advisories lasting all the way until Thursday. Now, this is not a one-shot deal. This is going to last for 4 days. As we've been calling in this morning, the race to 80. Joplin and Chanute sit at 79, Carthage at 78, whole bunch of 77s. Low point, Anderson, Miami, and Grove only at 72. Now, look at all the heat. Goes really from about central Nebraska and then drops into the southeastern portion of the United States. Thunderstorm activity for today will stay in the upper plains. They'll get some this afternoon. We're just going to be all consumed with heat and really not even going to have any of those pop-ups that we had during the afternoons and evenings last week. It's just going to be hot and dry, but the humidity sticks around as well. Nothing really to mention on Future Track other than the sun blaring down on us as the morning cloud cover moves off to the east, and a 7-day forecast throwing up alert days Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
All right, well, sounds like it's definitely going to be hot. We need to be prepared.
I guess
for
if there's one silver lining that we can find in all of this, it is the fact that all the thunderstorm activity for this week should stay to the far north in the upper plains. And so it's not like we have to put up with double barrel action.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Delaware County woman gets a 20-year sentence for recording the drug overdose death of another woman. Allie Anderson, charged with first-degree murder in the victim's death, will serve less than 3 years of her 20-year sentence. The judge suspended 17 years of her sentence and then gave her credit for time served. Anderson and her husband Brian Anderson were arrested in 2019 for Melissa Vermillion's death. Police say they injected Vermillion with methamphetamine, recorded her while she overdosed, and ignored her calls for help as she was dying. Brian Anderson died in jail last year. One man is dead following a two-vehicle crash in Bourbon County over the weekend. According to the Kansas Highway Patrol, 48-year-old Ira Toshevic was riding his motorcycle on Highway 69 near National Avenue in Fort Scott when he was unable to negotiate a right-hand curve and went left up the center, hitting another vehicle head-on. Toshevic was taken to Ascension via Christie in Fort Scott, where he later died. The driver of the other vehicle refused treatment at the scene. President Biden said discussions are underway among military officials about potentially extending the evacuation of Americans and Afghan allies out of Kabul beyond his August 31st deadline. President Biden says since August 14th, 28,000 people have been evacuated in the airlift, but tens of thousands remain stranded in Afghanistan. Following the news of the Taliban's takeover in Afghanistan, many veterans have been struggling to process how the situation played out. So the Veterans of Foreign Wars in La Harpe, Kansas hosted an informal session for those who fought in Afghanistan and other veterans. The session gave veterans an opportunity to share their thoughts and grievances in a supportive and confidential space.
We're angry, and some people have to get it off their chest. And if you are a veteran and you're out in the community and you want to say something, they're a little afraid to do so. So what we did is we brought it into our organization.
Vietnam veterans were in attendance as well to help Afghanistan veterans process their thoughts on the situation. The City Park in Chautauqua, Kansas became the host site for the second Neosho River Nap-In this weekend. KOAM's Chris Warner tells us what napping is and introduces us to a man who's made it his lifelong hobby.
Along the Neosho River in Chautauqua is the city park, and on Friday and Saturday it played host to the Neosho River Nap-In. Napping is shaping a piece of stone by hitting it and making stone tools or weapons, or even for building walls. Here, it was all about making arrowheads for a number of uses. The organizer, Aaron Ellison, says he got started in napping right here in Chautauqua.
When I got introduced to napping, the first place I made my first arrowhead was right here. And then they told me about what was called a nap-in, where people around the area get together, camp together, break rock together, trade stories, arrowheads, all sorts of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I want to go to a nap-in, but they're all so far away. Okay, I'm gonna make one here.
Verl Keeter's from Muskogee and a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. His interest in napping began many years ago.
I began to see arrow points and artifacts and wondered how they were made.
As he researched, he learned more about his tribe's history and some of its lost history.
The Cherokees did not come to Oklahoma with the astute knowledge of making the artifacts that previously had been made. They had pretty much lost the art.
He took his interest and made it into a lifelong project, earning him the honor of being a Cherokee National Treasure.
I try to perpetuate this art and the customs and the ideals of the Cherokee people and relate that back to previous times.
On Saturday, he shaped an arrowhead just for us, giving a full demonstration from start to finish on how arrowheads were made back in the old days. Keeter travels the nation, sharing his knowledge and, of course, shares it with the Cherokee down in his own backyard. In Chautauqua, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Definitely a neat skill to learn. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, Henri packs a punch.
Henri drenches the Northeast, but for the most part causes less damage than expected. I'm Bradley Blackburn on New York's Long Island, where residents say they dodged a bullet.
Plus, anxiety over the coronavirus hits new highs since last winter. We let you weigh in, but first it's 6:37.
In the high 70s on a Monday morning, that's going to end up being in the high 90s, not only for today with heat advisories through Thursday. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist Jameson in the U.S. Army. The Stark, Kansas native joined the 891st Engineer Battalion in 2004. He served a tour in Iraq. To Specialist Jameson Inman, we thank you, our four-state hero.
Celebrating her big first birthday and the outfits that prove it. Breland, a very happy birthday to you in Chautauqua.
In Pittsburgh, Carson Norris celebrating birthday number 2 this year. Hope it's a great one.
K-squared, Kaysen Kelly. Oh, I just love to play on those things, Kaysen. I know exactly what you moving the dirt, man. He's celebrating big number 6 in Galena.
Sailor Loveless celebrating birthday number 9 this year. Sailor is in Joplin.
Love your horse, Sailor. That is awesome. Caroline Covey, she has her 12th birthday. A very happy birthday to you, Caroline, in Humboldt.
And Miranda Harrison, turning 13 years old. Happy birthday to Miranda in Pittsburgh. With love from Grandma.
Our good friend Yam Hoff. She is celebrating her 14th. My goodness, already 14 years old. And yeah, very happy birthday to you in Pittsburgh.
Also in Pittsburgh, turning 14. Time to celebrate for Tanner Stone.
Taylor Lee has her 15th birthday. What a gorgeous picture there, Taylor. Happy birthday to you.
In Oronogo, Garrett Mathis turning 15 years old this year.
Cameron Boyd, happy 18th birthday. Miss Cameron, she is celebrating in Moran.
And we have Julie Jones. Julie is turning 35 years old. Give you a thumbs up too there, Julie. In Columbus.
Let's run out to Galesburg, where Fred Robinson is celebrating his 57th birthday. What a great picture right there. I can tell we got a couple spoiled grandkids, I have a feeling. Happy birthday, Fred.
Oh, it is a cute picture. Dale Brooks celebrating double sixes this year, and quite a catch there as well. Dale is in Joplin, where he's a Joplin fire marshal.
And every good fire marshal deserves some time out on the lake to get some fishing done. Happy birthday, Dale. Jenny Stalling, we're catching up with Miss Jenny. She had a birthday a little bit earlier, but it's never too late to wish Jenny a very happy birthday. She celebrates number 68 in Joplin.
All right, and we've got Joanne Maddox celebrating birthday number 80 this year in person.
This is pretty cool right here. Bob Cook, he's celebrating a birthday in Columbus, and that beautiful woman on Bob's right, well, Sue, that they are married. They are married and they share a birthday as well. So a very happy birthday to Bob and Sue Cook in Columbus.
All right, that's pretty awesome. In Pittsburgh, Jack Davis is celebrating. I hope you have a great one, Jack.
In Chanute, we've got a Bogle anniversary as Matt and Shannon. They are celebrating their 24th. Congratulations to the Bogles in Chanute.
All right, and we've got Alan and Brenda Smith celebrating 52 years together. Love that anniversary picture there. 52 years in Anderson, Missouri.
Now, there's a lot of people in this next picture right here, because David and Marlene Clark, well, they've got a lot to celebrate. Not only their anniversary, but that picture includes their 2 children, their 5 grandchildren, and their 10 great-grandchildren.
Nice.
So congratulations to David and Marlene, not only on your 56th wedding anniversary in Crestline, but also to wrangling the 10 great-grandchildren to get them in the same picture.
All right.
It's an accomplishment in and of itself.
We've got David and Harriet Thornton celebrating 68 years together in Thayer, Kansas. Congratulations to the Thorntons.
And it just so happens that on that same day that David and Harriet got married, well, guess what? Bill and Clarice Portwood, they also got married. Bill and Clarice are celebrating their 68th anniversary as well. Congratulations to the Portwoods in Mulberry.
All right. EJ Dayringer celebrating a birthday. EJ, one of our master control operators.
And who that is?
Yeah.
So this right here, you don't see Sonia Parker on air, but she is our commercial producer. Folks, there's a reason that the commercials on KOAM TV look as good as anything that you see from a national perspective. I don't care what network puts it on. And it's because of the great work of that woman right there. And I think it's so apropos that she also has a dog in her hands, because you'll never see anybody, you'll never run across another person on the face of this earth that doesn't love her some canines more than Miss Sonia Parker. Sonia, we greatly appreciate everything you do, absolutely adore you as a person, and can't wait to see you a little bit later on this afternoon. Or this morning, I should say. I don't know if I'll be here this afternoon. She'll be here this morning.
There you go. Happy birthday, Sonia.
Jane Ann Turner, happy birthday in Columbus. Miss Jane Ann celebrating her 75th. Emily Benedict out at Columbus High School. If you see Emily, she celebrated her birthday. She had a weekend celebration. Say happy birthday from me in Scammon. And then Robert Herder, get this, Mr. Herder celebrating his 99th birthday in Chanute alongside his granddaughter, Liana, who celebrates her 26th. So Robert and Liana, to both of you, a very, very happy birthday. Now, here's where it gets crazy, because we got Robert and Liana celebrating her birthday. Well, I'm not going to forget Don. Don happens to be Liana's uncle, and he celebrates his 67th birthday. So the Herder family, I hope you guys have a marvelous group birthday party.
All right. And we've got Ron Jameson in West Monroe celebrating today as well.
You know what? We should give some dude just his own screen.
Why not?
Hey! What up, DT? Tell you what, folks, there was a time before we roped him into working here, and he still does. He takes marvelous pictures. You remember those pictures Daniel would send us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good dude right there. Daniel, a very happy birthday. Love having you here, my man, and appreciate all the work that you do. A happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
friendly reminder to be safe when you're outside today because we've got heat advisories through Thursday. Never leave those kids or pets in the back of the vehicle unattended. Try to take breaks if you're outside for prolonged periods of time, and plenty of water. Hydrate, 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 because we're going to be in the mid to high 90s all week long.
Out there, gonna be hot. All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making Asian honey garlic chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
We'll not only break down our latest heat advisories, but this morning we take you to a city festival where pickles are a really big
deal.
And a story out of Wisconsin where a woman is alive thanks to the actions of her 5-year-old daughter. All right, that puts a wrap on the KOM Morning News for this Monday, August the 23rd. Remember, those heat advisories are going to last all week. Do me a favor, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Within the